Hello everyone, welcome to Art from Heart. My name is Konstantin, and in this video I will be showing you a slideshow pictures that we took of step-by-step process on renovation of our kitchen. Let's go ahead and begin with showing you some pictures from before. This is the view to the window and the kitchen sink. As you can see, we have a very old cast iron sink that was made in the United States. Here's a view of our pantry cabinets that we have on each side of the wall. A quick look to the pantry and the snug area. Now on the other side of the kitchen we have a stove that doesn't work and a corner cabinet. We only got 3 of them, and a refrigerator that doesn't work. And we have linoleum floors. And here is a quick look at my wife's reaction of the kitchen nightmare that she did not want to be dealing with, but everything is about to get changed. I'm gonna go ahead and begin by taking down these cabinets that are in the corner, and next I'm gonna go ahead and start taking down all the trim around the entire kitchen. Once that was done, I begin by taking down the linoleum floor, and as you can see, nothing can be ever easy. It seems like there was another linoleum floor underneath of it that was most likely placed right on top of that one and never been replaced. So I ended up cutting into the floor and taking section by section, wearing some masks to help me breathe a little bit better with all the dust that was accumulating in the air. I began by cutting sections where the pantry entry was set, and as you can see now we have floor completely cleaned up, but unfortunately underneath of it there was some sort of other material under that linoleum, which was really hard to get rid of. I spent dozens of hours trying to take it down, but unfortunately there were so many staples, I mean thousands of staples, that was stopping me from doing the work. As you can see, we have some of the wires already being pulled for recessed lighting and some of the switches and receptacles. The holes have been cut out in some of the portions of the walls to pull some of the wiring. My mom ended up coming over and helping us get rid of all this paper. We used lots of water to wet it and then wash it off. We had about 4 inches of the height from the ceiling to this arch that we had, and we had to take it down to make all the cabinets line up if we were to have them go all the way around the kitchen. So unfortunately we had to take down this arch, and this arch was taken down by my father-in-law friend Bob, and it was quite a lot of work since all of these walls are all plaster, they're not drywall, and it was a lot of dust and a lot of extra work that you might not expect when you're doing it with a drywall. We ended up buying some LED lights, and I finally took down the radiator that was underneath of the sink, and we're not going to be using that in this house. Finally, we've been able to take down this enormous sink, and here's a quick look, short video showing you what the kitchen looks like at the current state. We finally taken down the arch, the sink is down, the radiator has been moved out of that way, the pantry area is still open, the floors have been cleaned up, all the staples have been picked up, and we still have the pipes sticking out for the sink and the radiator. So I had to cut into the wall and try to get this pipe out of there since it was not going to be used for the new sink. And here's a quick look at that opening that we have from the arch, and here is a closed picture of this area. It took quite a lot of sanding and repetition since we used drywall to match with the plaster and they're not the same thickness, so we spent I believe a few weeks just sanding it down and making sure that the entire area was rectangular and had square corners. Now you can see that we have outlined where the cabinets are going to go up in the ceiling, and we begin by building a wall to cover that pantry entry. Since the wall was being closed off, we also used the drywall to close that off and spackled it and trying to flatten that area out with the plaster wall, which also took me quite some time to make sure that it was level And once it was complete, we moved on to finishing pretty much all the other holes that we have created, and we ended up putting the pipe for the dishwasher and close that off as well. Here's another look from the other side of the kitchen. You can see that there are some openings over there for the receptacles and all the wiring. Once that everything was done, we prepared for painting. We begin by painting a primer, white primer on the ceiling and the walls, and we ended up using some of the plastic cover on the walls so that we could keep all the dust away while we're painting the walls, since the entire house has been worked on simultaneously in all different rooms at the same time. As you can see now, the cabinets came in, and I ended up buying the cabinets that were put together by hand. I had to do every single cabinet separately. Every single drawer, every single screw had to be put together, and in this way I ended up saving over $4,000. I think it was almost $4,500. It was a price of about $8,500, and I ended up buying cabinets from a different place. It's called Cabinets to Go, and I saved over $4,500 just using this company and this method of installation. And these cabinet looks great. You can see that I even had to put these corners on each side of the cabinet to make sure that's where the actual countertop is going to go. And if you're doing any construction, make sure you buy real good drill bits. We're trying to build a platform to hold these cabinets, as you can see over here in the corner, and that way it would be easier for us to hold such a heavy cabinet. We ended up putting them up to see what they would look like on each corner, and here's a quick a result of it. And this Lazy Susan was one of the hardest one to build, or the longest, and we finally been able to put up some cabinets up top. The small space opening that is for the microwave right underneath of that drill. Once all the cabinets were up top, all we had to do is put in the shelves and some doors. I began putting some of the doors from right to left, and all these doors still have to be adjusted and still have to put all the doorknobs on it later down the road. The cool thing about one in our kitchen cabinets was the wine rack. We ended up putting one on the left side where we had those corner cabinets before, and here I am adding more cabinets on the bottom. As you can see, this is where our refrigerator is gonna be located at, and the other side across from it is the dishwasher that finally got installed, and it fit right perfectly in there. And I've mentioned before, the cabinets for the corners and the Lazy Susan was probably one of the toughest ones to try to fit everything in. Once everything that was done, we ended up putting receptacles and some GFCI receptacles for the kitchen as well, anywhere that is close to the sink, and pretty much on each side of the wall that we had, one for the refrigerator side, on the other side as well. And once that was done, we begin by putting down the hardboard for the floors, or backer board it's called, so that way we could put some tile down in the kitchen. I ended up going to Lowe's, I believe it was, and we ended up buying a 17 by 17 inch tile, which made our kitchen look slightly larger than it actually was. And here's a quick look at me and Rob working on it together, putting down the tiles, starting all the way from the back of the pantry to the snug area, and then from there flowing back into the kitchen. The reason that I did that is so that way I could have a straight shot of the tiles between that arch area. You can see that I have two layers coming in, and then also a center tile between the doorways going into the kitchen. As you can see, once the tile was complete, we ended up leaving all the spacers so that we can grout it and start putting some trim around the areas where we're not going to have any cabinets, which was a very small portion, but I still had to put in the dishwasher back in and also the range. And you can see on the left side there is not that much grout, but that was the picture before was fully complete and I never actually had that picture done, so I ended up leaving that as is. And here is a quick look at the trim. Refrigerator finally got installed. We put the board that goes on the side, cleaned up the refrigerator and get it ready to be used. The one thing that we did not install yet was the cabinet that goes above the refrigerator. And finally, once that was done with the help of our friends, it was finally complete and the kitchen was ready to be finished by setting up the last of the appliances, which were the microwave, the last of the cabinet drawers, and you can see that the doorknobs finally have been installed, and the garbage disposal was installed by Rob as well. And then finally we had a company come in and measure out and install the granite. Unfortunately, I wasn't there for the installation, so I didn't have a chance to see how they actually did it. But when we did return home and look at the final result, we were definitely not happy with it. We ended up calling them back and have them replace the whole side of the kitchen. You can see that there is a big gap between the wall over here. You can see that clearly. You can almost put a bank in there, and there was also another big gap in the back on the other side of the actual back where the lazy Susan is, and I was told that it was normal to have that, and since I was going to do some tile there in the future, they said it was going to be okay, but it was not okay with me, so I ended up calling them back and they ended up coming back and replacing it. After some time, we ended up breaking a tile because it didn't have enough of the grout underneath of it, of the actual mortar. I ended up replacing it by hand and then grouting it, and here's a final look of it without a faucet on the kitchen side sink. And last but not least, we ended up putting up a fan with some lights, so that way when it gets too hot we can run the fan up in there. And here's a look from the dining room. Decorations were done by my wife with all the wine theme that she wanted to have, and here's a look of what it looks like with all the cooking that we had to do. The wine has been restocked on the wine shelf, which was really nice and comfortable to have. It only fits, of course, smaller bottles, but we don't need that much. And crown molding up top was done by someone else. We had to hire somebody to do that. And as you can see, that these cabinets are much spacious, and this is the final result with the sink being installed and having all the other appliances and other decorations that were done by my wife. You can see that we ended up setting up some of these different window curtains, or the smaller ones. And finally, last but not least, we ended up getting a puppy, and as you can see, she's looking all nice and cute on her little tile, and it's puppy proofed. That being said, I want to thank everybody for watching my YouTube channel. Thank you for all the subscriptions, and don't forget to like the video if you liked it, and leave a comment below. And if you're new, don't forget to subscribe for more videos just like this. I'll be posting more videos regarding my house renovations, and hopefully you'll get inspired to do the same thing as I did. Until next video, guys.